so thank you. When I first heard about the volunteer program coming to New Zealand, I was actually on the very same meditation tour you guys are on now. So I came back last July. With us being in the southern hemisphere, it was winter time at the time. So my experience for here was completely different from what I'm feeling now and what you guys are experiencing now weather-wise. But so at that time, it was my first time in New Zealand, and it really showed me that with me living in the U.S. for so long and with me having the Korean background, New Zealand was truly a very special place. It was very unique in its own way. So when I heard about the volunteer program, they asked me to come back at the end of last year. So the volunteer program ended up being about 3 months long, so it's about the length of a visitor's visa, 90 days. So I came to New Zealand. I came back to New Zealand December 10th, 11th-ish. And then in the 2 months that I've been here, just thinking about from when I first arrived and my expectations then to what I'm experiencing now, I noticed a very big change in myself. When I first came here, my expectation was I heard two things. They're not going to feed me a lot, and I'm going to be digging a lot of dirt. Those are the two expectations I had. So I didn't have a very good expectation when I first came, but when I first arrived, those two things kind of went out the window immediately. It wasn't just me going there to dig dirt and they're gonna starve me or whatever. It's about developing the volunteers. So when I first arrived, it took a while to get used to the lifestyle here in New Zealand. There are several luxuries in the U.S. that we all take for granted, and with me kind of really noticing that once I come to New Zealand, that took a lot of getting used to. But once the lifestyle started becoming natural for me, then I was really able to look deeper into myself and really ask myself why I decided to spend 3 months in New Zealand where I had never been before. I'd only been for a week for a meditation tour, and then I decided to just spend 3 months here. And I notice now when I look at nature, and then when I'm taking care of Mago Holiday Park, I have a much deeper perspective on my actions than I did when I first came. When I first came, it was just work. It was mowing grass, it was clearing trees, building the gazebo that you guys saw at Mago Holiday Park. It was building that. It was just work. But then, looking back now and with my perspective on it, it was while I was maintaining Mago Holiday Park and building the gazebo, it was each action that I took felt like it reflected inside of me. So with me building the decks and the gazebo, it felt like I was rebuilding inside. So I was getting rid of any unnecessary emotions, and I was letting my ego go. So while I still have a long ways to go, I feel lighter in that sense, where my mind is not as cluttered. In the U.S., I spent probably most of my life just in my head, not really feeling, but just kind of thinking my way through things. So with me being in New Zealand for the past couple months, it's allowed me to kind of return back to my true nature of my childhood days, almost, just of a pure kind of consciousness. And while I live my life more simply here. It feels a lot deeper than the life that I had back in the U.S. And so with the changes that I'm experiencing here and with the lessons that I learned, I'm hoping to take that back to the U.S. at the end of my term. 죄송합니다. At the end of my term, and then so I'm hoping to kind of spread the message back into the U.S.